Welcome to Elevate eCommerce, the podcast where we elevate your e-commerce game. Join our host, Hi Mag, CEO of Eva, as he shares the latest strategies in Amazon, omnichannel, and advertising. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting, Hi's insights and expert interviews will help you thrive in the e-commerce world. Tune in for practical tips and transformative success stories to elevate your business to new heights.
So welcome everyone to another episode of Elevate eCommerce with Hi. And today it's a distinct pleasure for me to have my guest, Brent Zahradnik. And I hope I pronounced it well, Brent, maybe not, but you let me know. So how are you doing, Brent?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well, and yeah, the pronunciation's fine. It's a Czech last name. If you ask a Czech person, I can't pronounce it right either. I was born and raised in the U.S., so yeah, it's all good. It's all good with the last name.
All right, so it's great to have you on the podcast call. And today we're going to be focusing on very much on the latest strategies in Amazon, omnichannel advertising, and you're the head of an agency as a seasoned entrepreneur, as a CEO. Yeah. I hope that you can help us a lot to understand, to unlock this advertising and Amazon, and that's always what the people are looking for. So one of the things that Brent will also share with us an e-commerce hack at the end of this podcast, so please watch until the end, so you will get that very practical tip that you can probably use right after this podcast, and maybe it will help you to generate more profits. So my first question, Brent, as you have a lot of experience with advertising, what is your advertising strategy today? What is that approach that you follow in order to be successful?
Yeah, and let me just put it to the team too, because I do some advertising management at Pathfinder, but the vast majority of it is done by the team. And so the kind of discussions that we have as a group and the culture that we try to perpetuate at Pathfinder is ultimately what determines how people manage their accounts, right? So I would say in 2024, our focus continues to be around relevance and conversion for selecting the right terms in order to maintain metrics to keep Amazon happy, because Amazon continues to have an algorithm and a set of, let's call it operating principles, which is basically, what have you done for me recently? So how do you continue to keep the volleyball in the air by making sure that you're always feeding it with relevant search terms and targets, and in some cases with display advertising, categories, such that you're putting the right people in front of the listings. Because if you're sending lots of irrelevant or let's just call it like junk traffic, if you're sending the wrong people and the wrong keywords to the listings, you're going to be harming your conversion rate, harming your share in the marketplace. And you don't want to do that, because what we're trying to do with ads ultimately is stimulate and stoke the organic rank. Our job is to serve as like a support. Ideally, if I could have it my way, our advertising sales would make up like 1/3 of all the sales that our clients get through their accounts. And then that 2/3 would be organic, and they would be, positioned prominently for certain keywords. They'd be at the top of their category. They'd have lots of badges from Amazon for Amazon's choice. That's like an ideal scenario. So we're always trying to shoot for that. We see advertising, however important, as still being a kind of supporting actor in the play that is Amazon, with organic still being the main thing there. That also means part of our strategy high would be looking at the percentage of sales coming from ads, coming from organic. And if one of those gets too heavy, specifically the ad side, we try to dial that back in. We try to figure out what we need to do to make sure that the client is going to do better organically, and we're not over relying on advertising. So it's this constant kind of line to walk between the two. But that's our strategy. The reality is, and this is another key thing to keep in mind for all of our clients, any client that we work with has off Amazon channels too now. And in many cases, those channels are growing. It might not be by a bunch, but they are growing a couple percentage points every quarter, every year. And so the question for them starts to become, if you're a savvy business owner, well, where do I put my advertising budget? And the right answer is not always into Amazon or into Amazon DSP or into a new Amazon effort that they're pushing right now. Like display advertising and video has been very hot, the past like year and a half. So for them, it's like, well, actually, we might put it into TikTok or we might put it into Meta. And Amazon understands that they're in a larger picture struggle with these other ad platforms for their ad dollars. And I think they make a very compelling case. If you're a business that's got a large amount of sales going through Amazon, you should probably be investing heavily in the ecosystem. But the reality is for our clients, we sometimes say, maybe you should spend that money with email marketing, or maybe you should even send physical cards to clients. There's some companies out there that do that now, which is very interesting because it's kind of like a throwback. But $10,000, 10,000 euro, pound, whatever, you have to think from a business owner perspective, if you're an agency, where would I intelligently put this? And then advise them towards that level. That's another piece that I think is important these days because we do not exist in a vacuum on Amazon. It felt like we did for a long time, but we don't in reality. So sorry if that answer meandered a little bit, but this is the reality that we face in 2024.
No, I mean, just to summarize, talk about the value of the organic and having a holistic approach with relevancy, probably improving the CTR, CVR, and not just like focusing on driving impressions or unnecessary traffic. You also
or just looking at ACOS to the exclusion of everything else, which is definitely the death. If you ever come to a consultant or an agency that only looks at one metric and that one metric is ACOS, sure, they might get you a really good sales at first, or they might have some keywords that are really efficient, but you should run away quickly because you'll start to figure out that they're not balancing other things and taking account of what matters long term. ACOS can be a very short term focus metric. So it's very rare that I would go to someone and say, look at the low ACOS we can get you. It's more like, well, let's take a look at these three big metrics and the picture of the business overall, and let's zoom out from there. You have this much money going to Amazon, this much going into Meta. Okay, cool. What can we do with the Amazon side? That's our charge. That's our remit,
Amazing. So, advertising is still, kind of like the key to get new customers. One of the things that we see all the time, every second week or even every month, Amazon is introducing new techniques, new tools. Compared to last year, for example, we see more usage of like Amazon Marketing Cloud and other things. So my question to you is like, what innovative advertising techniques that you are using recently and you see some success, last couple of months, or maybe based on the trends on the consumer side, maybe you're focusing on something else. Like, what is that recent developments?
Yeah, sure. The two newest things come to mind. You actually mentioned one of them, but I'll start with the other. The one is vertical videos. So Amazon has rolled out vertical videos in a lot of their sponsored brand, ad campaign placements. And that has been almost like too late. I wish they did it earlier because it seems kind of obvious now in hindsight. And Amazon's like not expressly stated, but their clear intention that they've telegraphed is, hey, you're going to use content from TikTok, from Instagram, from other platforms. Just make sure to scrub those brands off of there and then edit them such that they're appropriate for Amazon and bring them to our platform. So vertical video has its home on mobile. And actually, we did this recently. We looked at our client data, and the vast majority of our clients have 60% or more of their sessions, that is to say unique visitors to their brand, through their actual Seller Central dashboard. You can see the data in there. Most of them are mobile app. So the reality is we live in an increasingly mobile world. For some of our clients, it was upwards of 70%. So, it depends on the category and niche. But, the reality is vertical video is going to do better on mobile because that's what people are accustomed to now. Everyone in the world is in reality walking around with a glowing rectangle in their hand. They're not looking at a 4K screen like I am right now. Most people are looking at a glowing rectangle in their hand. And so you're meeting them where they are. You're meeting them inside the app. You're meeting them with a video format they're familiar with. And so our clients have this creative. And so getting it from them, editing it where we need to, coaching them through how it should look and can look has been a bit of a learning process for sure. It's not like super easy to do, but it's worth the investment of time and energy. And I hope that Amazon rolls out more vertical video formats because right now it's sponsored brands and a couple of key placements. I mean, these are very high profile, nice placements, but I would like to see even more of them if possible, going forward. So that's been one. We've been trying to roll out vertical videos wherever possible, if possible, for any client we work with. That's one. The second thing we've been using, and we've been using this for maybe like 8 or 9 months now, is audiences and AMC. So in Marketing Cloud, you can go in and you can run a bunch of queries. I won't get into how this works because it's like fairly complicated, but basically you need someone that knows SQL on the team or can execute pretty complicated data schema queries against the database that you have set up in AMC. But the end result of this, the important bit that you should know, is it spits out audiences that you've made custom that you can then import into DSP, and then you can use Amazon's DSP to run against those. And this has been very, very powerful. And in fact, Amazon has just in the past month or so said that, hey, we're making some features of our audience creation and our data gathering side in AMC free for the rest of the year, which is really cool. They did it like a little bit before Prime Day. It like wasn't enough for us to actually start using it. But I think for Q3, we're going to be better equipped for that. So if you're already spending on DSP, you may have the opportunity to get an AMC instance. If you're not, I believe later this year, they're going to start opening up AMC instances to companies that are spending on sponsored brands only. Sorry, sponsored ads only. That would be sponsored brands, sponsored display, sponsored products, the big three that we all know and love. And you can start to create audiences for retargeting purposes or just targeting purposes in DSP. There will probably be a feature where you can pull in those audiences and target them through sponsored display, which is kind of that like a little brother, a little cousin to Amazon DSP. So those are the two things we've been very excited about. I would say that so far this year, we're about halfway through the year now, in 2024.
But I mean, the vertical videos, that's an amazing area. So thanks for sharing that. And I wish that Amazon will make even AMC even more free for the DSP users. And also, as you mentioned, like expand it to PPC, sponsored brands. I mean, that's great for Amazon, right? At the end of the day, if people, spend more money on ads and they create more relevance, they see the return, they will even spend more. So to make it even free would be a big advantage for all the brands. But it's, as you said before, it's not only about advertising. So even advertising itself is kind of getting benefit from all the other things that you can do. So my next question is like, what affects advertising that is not advertising itself? What do you think about that?
Oh man, so many conditions. In fact, my favorite one that's on my mind right now, let's just talk about Prime Day for a second. We're recording this in and around Prime. And I think that the way that Prime can be seen is it's basically a conversion and traffic event, right? So imagine that you're just sitting on your boat, having a good time, and all of a sudden a giant wave comes. Well, you have to accommodate for the wave, right? You've had calm seas up until now, and then a massive tsunami comes, a massive wave hits you. Well, that's basically what happens on Prime. So even if you're not someone who has deals ready, the phrase rising tide lifts all boats, kind of comes to mind again, going with this strange boat analogy. So that's one thing. Like if we on the advertising side didn't prepare the ship for the giant wave, then we would be doing our clients and our accounts a disservice. So that means we need to make sure that they have deals lined up. Clients need to make sure they have enough product in and ready to go. If they have things they want to actually sell and move a lot of units during that time. Now, if they don't, then we also need to accommodate for it. We need to make sure that our bids are a conservative level, our budgets are a conservative level, because it's totally possible for us to spend way more money than we intend to on these couple days of Prime, even if the client has no deals available and is not trying to do anything special. There's one client I can think of in particular that has a very high product price, and their product is not appropriate for Prime at all. Not at all. So they did nothing, right? But we still saw increased demand, increased volume, and we know that we could have spent 2, 3, 4 times as much money as we usually spend in a week per day on Prime if we wanted to, but we did not want to, right? That was not part of the plan. So to think that there's nothing that impacts advertising, now Prime's in a special case, but there's all kinds of things out there. Another good example I can think of, we've seen this. We have a client that has a product that goes viral on some kind of social media. Well, of course, the searches for their brand are going to spike. The conversion rate's going to explode temporarily. It's going to cause everyone at our company to go panic and say, wait, what's happening? Why are we selling so much? Why did the conversion rate go up? But once we start to understand these signals that come from other places, oh, it makes sense. Okay, we noticed that it had a couple of videos on Instagram that went absolutely huge, and millions of people viewed them. Another good example is just seasonality. So there are some products that are going to have a waxing and waning due to seasonality, and we are already seeing this in June into now July, because we have some products that just don't do well in the summer. People are off on vacation, people are with their families, they're not really spending a lot of money. This is true for e-commerce in general, but we have several products for whom summer's not like a great time. So we know that we're going to have a drawdown not only in impressions, but also click-through rate and conversion rate, and therefore ACoS is going to go up. So there's a couple different figures that we have to keep in balance. And we now, we set our watch to it. It's that time of year again. Let's go ahead and reduce the bids and change these campaigns around and focus on other products in the catalog, because that seasonality has come back. So advertising never exists in a vacuum, like I said earlier. That's very true for all the reasons I just mentioned too. Seasonality, events, competitors. We didn't get to competitors and what they're doing in the marketplace. That's another one. So to look at your campaigns, let's take the perspective of an optimizer for ads right now. Look at your campaigns and say, oh man, our conversion rate is down. It must have been something that I did last week when I made my edits, or it must have been something that I did when I changed this one keyword that's a big converter and I changed the bid by 2 cents and now it's ruined everything. Well, in reality, that's not often the case. It's usually some other external factor that you have to do some sort of investigative reporting to figure out. And that means talking to your clients, talking to your team, poking around and using different tools on the internet to see what's happened. Looking at the ecosystem itself on Amazon. Let's say a competitor dropped their price by $10, $15, $20, and that's impacting your conversion rate. Those things are all leading to changes in advertising.
Absolutely. Well, that is also kind of related to my next question. As an AI guy for the last 24 years, I love talking about AI, artificial intelligence. One of the things about AI is it's about the content, your own data. But then there is a context where most of the AI tools actually struggle, because when there is an event like your competitor's inventory is low, or maybe they are out of stock, immediately there is a context external factor impacting the result, which AI may not understand, like what's going on. But I mean, back to the question, which is also relevant to all the external factors and the things that you mentioned. Now, I mean, there is a lot of this AI for the last 1.5 years, especially with the introduction of ChatGPT and LLM, the large language models and all that stuff. Like, everybody's trying to use AI. So what role does AI play in optimizing advertising strategies, or in general managing Amazon, Walmart, etc. business for you?
Sure. Yeah, I have a lot of different answers, because I've become more and more comfortable with ChatGPT is what I primarily use. Some other team members at Pathfinder use different things. We don't have any kind of custom AI like in-house that we roll our own. But we are kind of looking at that. I think that's probably a smart business move to consider. However, I can give some simple examples off the top of my head. The first one would be just helping you brainstorm about keywords, exploring a keyword ecosystem. You can give it a list of keywords you've done some research for and say, hey, help me continue with this. I need more keywords for a paid advertising campaign I'm doing on an e-commerce marketplace. What other searches are people doing? How should this look? Can you help me craft a persona for a buyer based on these keywords? I find that to be quite useful. You can, help you bring some ideas to market and help you craft messaging for different buyer personas. These buyer personas can also be informed by your clients too, for that matter. So you'll just simply have a dialogue with them and ask them, who is buying this? Who's the ideal purchaser? What do you see in the data that you are able to gather about who's buying it? Okay, cool. That's helpful. That arms me with some information. Now I'm going to go back to AI and I have a brainstorm session with it, have a conversation with it, and figure out what this persona is and how I can help market to it. Another one that's a bit more analytic that we use day in, day out. We do listing optimization for clients now over the past 2-ish years because we got more and more tired of having to deal with conversion rates for client products that were too low. And we thought we can improve this with images, with video, And then just down to the basic like textual elements of the product detail page, like the title and description, bullet points and everything. So we do a lot of that. And one of the things we do is use AI to analyze the reviews and understand like a semantic analysis of what people are saying is good or what is bad, what needs to be improved. And then we'll just take those learnings and like pull them into the product optimization side. Typically putting it in one of several tools that are like A/B testing, and then to see how this gets a reaction out of the market, and then finally putting that in the manager experiments thing, which is a different subject. But we'll use our own AI tools, just some basic ones, along with third-party ones that can help you with the review analysis. I think the last thing I would say for AI, and this is actually for marketing for us from a company standpoint, is actually feeding it like our brand voice, if you will, and giving it like, here's a bunch of blog posts we've written, here's a bunch of LinkedIn posts that I've written that are from my voice, and this is like how we want AMZ Pathfinder as a company to sound, and then build a custom GPT around that, and give it instructions about what to do, what not to do. So it has like some memory with it, right? And it understands, looking at the body of work that we've given it, what we should and can sound like. And then it's able to like mimic us, right? It's like a parrot. It can go in and we can feed it articles, we can feed it ideas, and it'll spit out content. Now that usually is something that's like, 70, 80% of the way there. And we always will go over it with a fine tooth comb and use like the human touch at the end. But it's really good for what you said earlier, like ideation and iteration. I find it quite good at those things. It's sometimes amazing. I use it and I'm like, what did we used to do before this? I don't even remember what I used to do before I was able to do this. So those are 3 use cases. Those are all separate things. One of them is very analytical. One of them is for an agency. And then the last one there is kind of like just the pure advertising data mining side, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just also brings to my mind 2 philosophical questions. One, are we getting dumber by, using AI, as you said, like, because it becomes so much like something that we don't know what to do without it. And that's kind of interesting. And the second thing is like, obviously it's so easy now to produce content. And then what will happen if, like, instead of millions of contents, now there is trillions of contents? How Google and Bing and all the other search engines will really understand, like, which one is generated? It's so almost impossible to differentiate between a human generated and AI generated content as of now. 6 months ago it was, now it's pretty much no way. So world is becoming kind of an interesting place. Now, you also mentioned, obviously it's your company, Pathfinder. You are running it almost for a decade, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yeah.
And I know, if you are running a company for 10 years, you should be successful, right? Otherwise there won't be a company. And
or at least stay afloat, yeah.
And I believe there will be a lot, there are a lot of like nice success stories. If you can share one of these success stories with us, a case study where you grow the business or you focus on the profit or something else, we will be very happy.
Yeah, sure. I'll think of one off the top of my head then, because I don't really have one super ready, but we started working with a company recently that does furniture and interior decoratings and stuff like this. And they are an interesting company because they actually morphed out of a Chinese brand that was like, kind of really low price, like direct to Amazon, like slow shipping. And then they kind of adopted the FBA model. They kind of like stair-step their way up the value chain. And it seems like now the brand has matured to a place where it actually has some foothold in the marketplace and is like actually well respected on Amazon. It's not just like, okay, here's another Chinese brand that has a name I can't pronounce. They've adopted a name that is like, let's just say like more well known. I won't say it here, but it's known in the marketplace. They have branded search volume and they have some brand awareness. So what they're trying to do now is very interesting. They're pivoting to mid and higher tier, higher quality, kind of like modular furniture. And I won't say what exactly, but they're designing a couple of like flagship products right now. So we've been talking with them for a few months, and then only recently we started working with them on advertising. But the way that their campaigns and their account was set up before was something I've seen a lot in Chinese accounts, where they seem to have different managers who are heads of different like product groupings, and they kind of manage ads in like their own way. They don't really have one cohesive vision for, okay, we have $50,000. Like, how are we going to allocate it across the brands? How are we going to spend it? everyone has their own little like fiefdom. So we've basically taken that, let's call it fragmented presence, and morphed it into one over the course of the last couple of months and have a more cohesive vision for where it should go. And then we've been able to focus the ad spend and focus the attention on the couple products that they're launching that are these new flagship modular style products. And this has, of course, been done in close combination with the United States side team, and also some discussion with the Chinese side team, who's like doing a lot of the sourcing and everything. So it's kind of like a 3-continent effort, because myself and most of my team are here in Western and Central Europe. Then we have people in the U.S., and then we have people in Asia on this team also. So that's been interesting. I can't say that we've had like outstanding stellar results. I can point to huge ACoS decrease or whatever, but we've taken the advertising presence and turned it around from something fragmented, scattered, and kind of like all over the place to something that's at least unified. And now we're going to start to continue to build that base. And as you know, the first couple of months investing in any kind of new product can be very expensive. So we set the right expectations there. The client's on board, and we're proceeding along with them. To me, this is like how it gets done. This is like the real stuff on Amazon. This is not always the posts that look the best on LinkedIn. It's like, yeah, we worked really hard for 3 months and we broke even, but the client had an awesome launch and now the brand is up on its feet. Okay, that screenshot probably doesn't look the best on LinkedIn, but the client's really happy with that. The brand is off on a new foot. They've worked really hard to get there. We've worked really hard to work alongside them. So we're like 2/3 of the way through that journey, and it's going in the right direction. So I would call that something that I'm happy about and proud of a small case study in progress, let's call it, for the last few months.
Got it. Well, by the way, I mean, we are also working with a furniture, Chinese manufacturer, and I kind of have a similar, similar experiences. Number one is like the Chinese manufacturer has like X number of brands managed by Y number of brand managers, which are commission based. As a result of that, there is like kind of X multiplied by Y number of strategies, even on the same account. That's exactly what you said. So to simplify it, to make it one single strategy is super important. And I see, like by doing that, and by like Chinese brands working with agencies like yourself or American agencies, they get even more leverage. So there is a lot to learn from that synergies. One of the things also that I see with that specific market, like furniture, all that stuff, which is not only related to them, but most of the Amazon, the most important thing at the end of the day is to make profits. And I always want to ask that question as a kind of former Amazon seller. The only reason why we were successful for 6 years before we started Eva was we always focused on the profit as well while we are doing all the growth strategies. So what's your focus? What's your focus or strategy to increase the profits, or how much you are also like always there, like looking into the profits as well?
Yeah, this is something that's changed for us over the last couple of years. I mean, we always cared about profit, right? And the client would tell us, oh, this is losing us money or making us money, push it up, push it down, spend more, spend less, whatever, right? They were kind of the ones giving us that guidance. But at one point we decided we needed to take it more fully into our own hands. So now when we onboard a client, we usually will ask for COGS. Sometimes we'll use a tool, what's a good example? One of those like profit dashboard tools. There's like 3 or 4 actually we use
Eva.
out there. But
You can also
Eva. Okay, there you go. We use something like an Eva profit dashboard, right? Exactly. So it's like we don't have to ask them anymore. Hey, what's your profit? Is it up or down? Like, what's it look like on this product? We can just go look at it ourselves. And so what we're doing is crafting strategies around what their margins truly are, if the numbers are provided are correct. And, obviously we're getting the right figures from Amazon's API about their fees and storage and everything, which of course has changed a lot so far this year. But that allows us to kind of imbue our work with the focus on that profitability. And now, just because we look at the profitability doesn't mean that's the only thing we only ever care about. There are times when we can actually justify going into the red or breaking even, right? But that's a discussion that needs to be had with the client, with what they're trying to accomplish, with the time of year that it is right now. Generally speaking, our default stance is going to be towards making a nice healthy margin, understanding how advertising fits into that. To kind of go back to the first question that we started the conversation with, though, I think that understanding where there are gaps in the marketplace and where you can push advertising intelligently with a good with a good conversion rate and a good click-through rate, that's going to help your organic rank is really the way to, let's say, lever up visibility for a product where it might not have it, where it deserves it. And that's where you're going to get better overall organic sell-through. And that's kind of the key in our partnership with a lot of clients. So I would say the old-fashioned way is just bang your head against the wall and spend tons of money on big keywords, because those are the big keywords that everyone else knows are the big ones, and so they're expensive. The new way is understand where the gaps are in the market, be a bit more agile, use any number of tools out there to identify and find those, and then exploit them with intelligent advertising pushed in the right direction at the right time, while understanding, okay, cool, we know that we got a good organic exposure for this product now. Maybe we can back off the advertising a little bit and let the organic take over. And wow, look at that. We're paying for less of the sales for that search term than we used to be, because we dialed the advertising down, and now we're reaping more profit, more margin out of that. So this is an ongoing discussion. These things are never done. That's the thing that I simultaneously love and hate about Amazon High is like, yeah, it's never done. The job is never done. But that's like the flywheel keeps on turning, and there's always something more to learn, and there's always another mountain to climb. It's kind of like a metaphor for life.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, when it comes to profit analytics, like we do a lot of R&D on that to make sure that we are catching up with all the Amazon fees as they are introducing new ones every month.
Oh gosh,
one of the things
that's been really rough so far. Honestly, the Amazon fees this year have been really rough for a lot of our sellers.
One of the things that very interesting that some of our customers ask for a couple of interesting new KPIs. I just want to share because it might be interesting for you to look at it later on. One is called PRAS, the profit return on ad spend. So we are able to calculate that, just to show how much profit they make if they spend ads. That's kind of an interesting one. Then what is the total advertising cost of profit? How much, that's what we call TPRAS, and also the total profit return on ad spend. So we kind of come up with these three KPIs, which clearly shows how much they will spend and how much they will get. And that kind of very much simplified, the way the customers agree with the agencies to work on advertising, to release the budgets, because they know that I spend $1, I'll get 50 cents, but it's still okay. Because it's a profit at the end of the day. So,
and that's a source of what we call ground truth, right? So what you're providing there is basically a neutral platform where it's both parties can look at it. This is very important in these relationships, right? Because you have to trust but verify, as was once said. And so you both look at that number and you say, okay, this is what we agreed on. This is the metric that we're moving towards. Cool. We're trending in this direction, and both of us can log into this anytime and see it. And that's really important. Instead of, oh, we have our numbers over here, you have your numbers over there. Okay, we disagree on what the basic facts of this case are. You have to agree on what the facts are.
Exactly. Well, one of the things in the beginning you mentioned is what I really liked. I think it will be the trend in the next 12 months is also to decide on a multimedia mix, meaning okay, you have that $10,000. Now it's not only about spending that money on Amazon, and maybe there are other ways of generating, more demand and customers, and there are multi-channel strategy, obviously. So what's your approach to omnichannel to be successful on e-commerce, and are there any effective strategies you want to share?
I'll say I know a little bit less about this. We've been so focused on Amazon for so many years. I don't feel like I'm as comfortable speaking omnichannel. But the one thing I will say is that shoppers are looking for a consistent brand experience these days. People have a very high threshold and a very high expectation for what a brand experience should be. Think of the best brands that you've ever interacted with over the course of your experience as a consumer over the years. The very best brands you've interacted with. It doesn't matter if you bought it from this store, that store, online, whatever. The experience is the same everywhere. And so you might be able to provide one level of experience on D2C, where you don't have the constraints of Amazon, and then be able to provide a different experience on Amazon that sometimes is not as good, because Amazon, as you know, puts a lot of handcuffs on us for what we can put in packages and how we can address customers and how we can reach them in the kind of post-sale period. So I think just having consistent brand presence across every touch point that someone can get to is probably part of the definition of what makes omnichannel, like good omnichannel, a wise move. Past that, I'm not sure if I have too much to say about omnichannel actually.
Well, but I mean, it's already a great feedback here. Maybe one thing that I can add, last couple of weeks, we started having conversations with Temu and Shane. And this is really exciting because now Temu and Shane wants to recruit the US brands, not Chinese brands, and they want the US brands to launch on Temu and Shane. So I'm just giving the hint because I think there will be more battles between Amazon and all the, Temu, Shane, and TikTok, Chinese source, basically e-commerce marketplaces. And the China e-commerce penetration versus retail is almost more than 50%. So it's like almost double the US e-commerce penetration, which is 25%. So there is a lot to learn from them too. I'm just saying that this is kind of something interesting that I see with Temu and Shane and these conversations to launch the US brands on their marketplaces. So that's a lot going on. But you're the Amazon expert for us. You're doing it for a decade. You have a lot of success stories. Now it's coming to the end of the show. So I leave it to you to share with the audience that e-commerce hack.
Okay, sure. What I wanted to talk about here briefly is something pretty nerdy with Amazon advertising, but still relevant. And anyone who has brand registry, I believe, can do this. So let's go through it. Basically, what we're looking at here is benchmarking your advertising conversion rate in your account versus your niche or your market. So we have a problem, most of us. What does our advertising conversion rate, how does it compare to what's out there in the industry? What's the benchmark? We don't really know because we only look in our account. Maybe we can ask a friend who's in a similar category, hey, what's your conversion rate on this product? Maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't. Of course, it changes every month. It changes every week. So we don't have a wider set of data. Now, you guys at Ava probably have a wider set of data you can compare to, but most sellers, most individuals don't. So that's where this comes in. So the first thing we do is you go into the ad console and you go to the products side in the left-hand nav there. You can see like products is highlighted. And then the products area, I've set it to June, so just the whole month of June. One of the columns it gives us is advertising conversion rate. So this is just clicks and orders, right? Really simple calculation of conversion rate. So we have this many clicks, this many orders, and that's the conversion rate we get. You can see here for these products, it ranges from about 2% all the way up to, just shy of 18%, actually. This is a varied catalog in one of our client accounts in the US here that's spending a moderate amount of money in the month of June. Not too much, but it was enough to make an example for this. So that's the first part here. We got our, per product advertising conversion rate. And it's weird because this is one of the few areas that Amazon advertising actually gives you conversion rate. I don't know why they don't show it at the campaign level or at the keyword level, but just natively they're going to show it to you here. You can of course calculate it, but this is really best done at the product level. So yeah, conversion rate, number of orders relative to the number of clicks, and this is just dividing the number of orders by clicks. And it does say like this may include products not featured in the ad. That just means that people will buy something else after they click on your ad, and that's included. That's fine. Don't worry about that for now. Now, the next thing we can do is we can go to the growth area inside of inside of Seller Central.
Right.
Just on the left side, you go over to growth and you see something called the Product Opportunity Explorer. I thought I put a screenshot of it in here, but I guess I didn't. It sounds like you know where this is. You're familiar with where you navigate on this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just in the left side. And when you jump into there, you see this screen. This is like the top of it, and you can see some products I looked at recently. Here it is. So growth, Product Opportunity Explorer. There you go. And then this is what it looks like. So this is one of the products that's inside this niche. And basically, I've gone over to search terms. And you can see these are the search terms that are related to this like 45-degree offset iron sights. This is actually a gun accessory, but like it's just something that's commonly sold in the US, I suppose. And you can see here's the search conversion. Now, this is not the advertising conversion. This is a conversion from searches that goes on in the past 360-day period for this particular product. So these are different ASINs that it's showing us here across the right side. And this is one of the benchmarks we can use. So, okay, we know what our advertising conversion is. Let's say that it was like 4.5. And the search conversion for these various keywords here is anywhere from 1.8 to 4.5. And this gives us an initial benchmark, initial idea for that. And then the next thing here, this is maybe my favorite. We look at the overall niche and we say, okay, generally speaking, and this is a 7-day period I think it applies to here, our search conversion rate for the niche is 3.30 overall. So we're starting to get some other figures related to the keywords and the niche and the market for our product. And that's going to give us a benchmark by which we can compare our advertising to the overall. Now, these are not a one-to-one comparison because we're not comparing advertising to advertising, but this is giving us a directional indicator. This is like a basic benchmark we can use. If these two numbers are very far out of line, especially if it's a keyword like one of these here along the left side there, that you know you have in your account and you are advertising for presently, and that number looks very different, that's usually an indicator that something is either going wrong or something's going really well if your search conversion rate is much higher. Sorry, if your advertising conversion rate is much higher than the search conversion rate. So in conclusion, if our conversion rate is 4.7 and those we've seen using the product opportunity explorer are, let's say, 3.44 for search conversion and 3.30 for the niche conversion, we know that the benchmark is that we're doing better than the market because our advertising conversion rate is higher. And this is just a very basic method that we use to determine how are we doing. It's kind of like a sanity check looking at recent data. So that's it for that. Hi, do you have any kind of feedback or thoughts on this hack?
Like each time I got all this super nice hacks, like I always think about, is there an automated way to do it? But I know that the POE APIs are basically, there is no API around that area. Yeah. That's very limited. But we may have some ways, but that's a great way to the compare. Is always the customers ask, right? Like whether their conversion rate is really good or bad, or are we doing a good job? Can we improve it? And that's already, giving a great answer to that, because there is not too many answers around Amazon other than what you showed. So thank you very much, Brent. It was really, really helpful. I personally learned a lot. I'm always amazed to meeting with you and talk about Amazon and advertising. So thanks for being our guest today.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your evening, and thanks so much.
Thank you.